Hi guys, this week on MoCoS4E15 I'm going to talk about the biggest 10 influences on my musical life when I was growing up. This is a question I've gotten over time, and I kind of like this question because it makes me think about where did I get my taste in music? Where did I get, my musical influences? I'm talking about when I first became aware of music, okay? And the first thing that I remember, and it's been documented before, and I think in season 2 I talked about singing a parade when I was just 3 years old, and I wanted a drum and I wanted to play in a parade, and that was my big goal in life, was to be able to play in a parade, a marching band, and I still love marching band. But the second thing that I started noticing, and this is not long after that, was that my mother had a record collection, and she would play it all the time, especially when I was 5 and we lived in Greece. It was kind of nice because it brought back the sounds of home, and we were far away from home and didn't speak the language, so it was a little strange. Although the Greeks were super nice to me. I mean, I had so many friends, it was kind of cool. And my mom's record collection was, she acquired it mostly when she was working for the FBI in Chicago, and so there was some Benny Goodman, there was a lot of Bing Crosby. She loved Bing Crosby, and my father used to try and sing like Bing Crosby just to make her happy. He would sing in the car, and he would sing those Bing Crosby songs, or he'd sing opera. He would sing some opera things with his operatic voice, and he had a big voice, my dad, so it was scary sometimes. And my mom, she sang a lot too. She would sing when she was doing the dishes or folding the laundry, around the house. She would always be singing, especially, the sink had a view of the fields out and back where we grew our vegetables and stuff, and she would look out at the fields and see the crows eating the corn and all the wildlife, and I think she liked that quite a bit. She was a city girl, so she liked that, and she would sing. She would sing her songs. She'd sing all novelty tunes and all kinds of stuff. Then, when I was 7, my parents decided that I seemed to be interested in music, so they decided that I should play the piano. So for 4 years I took piano lessons from 7 to 11. And at first I had a pretty good teacher, I thought. She was nice, she was very kind and gentle, and spoke softly. So I had another teacher who was not nice. She was mean, and she would hit if I played a wrong note, she would hit my hand with a ruler, and that kind of ruined me for piano. I still have trauma when I play piano. But that was a good thing to do. It gave me a good picture of how the notes fit together. My 6th biggest influence, and this is a huge one, was my Uncle Bill Streets. My cousin Teddy's dad. Uncle Bill was he played guitar, trumpet, and piano. And he wasn't a professional musician. He was a semi-pro. He would play on the weekends. Every weekend he'd play down at Fisher's Landing. And so Uncle Bill would play these gigs, and I would see him once in a while at the gigs, but mainly he would be playing around the house all the time when I would go over to my cousin Teddy's. And his band would practice in his house, so he had some drums, he had a guitar, he had piano, And that's really how we got started with our little high school band, was using Uncle Bill's gear that he let us use. Well, some of it, not all of it. You know, eventually he let his son Teddy play you know, through his Fender amp, which was an amazing thing. But in the beginning, we had amps that my dad would make, because he was a technician, so he knew about circuits and how to make stuff, and he got a schematic to make a PA system, so he made us a PA system that was 5 watts, and we're like, Dad, people can talk over us when we're playing, and he's like, well, they shouldn't talk when you're playing, you know, it's plenty loud. 5 watts. So then we started our little band, and we used to go over to my grandmother's house. Adjacent to one of the sides of the backyard was the local bar, O'Brien's Bar. All the local rock bands up there, Ed Wool and the Nomads, Ray John and the Wanderers, the Vibrations, they all played at this club, and eventually so did the Regal Tones, and so did my brother's various bands, and even the Lost and Found, which was Eric Bloom's band when he was a student at Hobart. So people came from all over the state to play at Obie's. And so we would go, we were too young to go in the bar, so we would get you know, a milk crate or something, or we'd stack up some stuff and we'd stand on it, we'd look in the window, you know, we'd peek in the window. I don't know if they even saw us, but we would be looking at the bands playing for hours. We would watch them back at my grandmother's house. So that was a big influence. You know, a lot of these songs that I play, that we played in the beginning, were the songs that those bands played, and we figured out how to play them by watching those guys that would play. And then I played in the high school dance band, and the high school marching band, the high school concert band. I played in the all-state band. So all of these experiences really broadened my musical taste and abilities, I suppose. When I went to college, I started seeing live bands. We would drive down to New York City to the Cafe Go-Go and watch Muddy Waters and James Cotton, the Blues Project, Richie Havens, all kinds of bands. And then when I eventually moved to New York City, we had some epic failures. Epic failures. Once we got out in front of a lot of people, it was difficult. You know, I don't think we really knew what we certainly didn't know who we were as musicians, and we didn't really know how to put on a show. You know, when you play in the bar scene, it's pretty casual. You know, you're talking to the audience all the time. It's a very small group, and you know, when you're playing a big concert, you have to have a different kind of, you know, sort of larger than life persona. And I would watch people like Joni Mitchell or Tim Hardin or Tim Buckley or Judy Collins, all of these folk musicians who would approach their stage show like a club act. And it was kind of weird. I didn't feel like they really reached the audience as well as they could have, you know. So we evolved. You know, I think the biggest revelation was Alice Cooper. So number 10 would be watching Alice Cooper and seeing how they played and how they put on such an amazing show, and yet got to be as unique and strange and wacky as they wanted to be. Okay, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, my little story about my influences. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.